serious question. We're familiar with the 5 languages of love. Is there like a 5
Are we?
senses of humor?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what your language is, and that it's never been fucking identified yet. There's
quality time. We're still friends, right, John?
First of all, I think we should.
Why are your hands so sweaty? What have you been doing?
Trying to survive this podcast.
We should. We should see if we are familiar with the 5 languages of love. So there's what? Physical touch, because I think I'm that person. I read the book. Who didn't? What's the other one? Oh, words of affirmation.
Quality time.
Deeds, like good deeds.
Gifts.
Is that the Bible?
Yeah, gifts.
Both.
Gifts, like
Gifts.
Yeah. Gift.
Oh, gifts. Like if you send good gifts.
Yeah, like some people like gifts.
Yeah.
Some people like just like the way that they interpret love is by like how much free shit they get.
Like presents.
Presents.
Yeah.
Not presents. Presents.
I know, presents.
Yeah. Quality time would be presents.
Presents.
Right.
What about gifts?
Gifts. Yeah, gifts. And then,
Somebody shut that baby up.
Fuck.
yeah, gifts, quality time, present. I guess that would be gifts. Goddamn recap.
Yeah.
Now I'm totally confused. Why do you keep fucking putting an emphasis on present?
Because he doesn't want to think presence, like CE. Presence.
Yeah, like presence.
Like commanding presence,
Yeah, it's the same thing.
which was my nickname in college.
Oh,
Just bringing a little Luke Summers into
God.
high school.
Good shtick.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Well-
I mean, it was almost like automatic. When somebody would say something, I'd be like, nickname in high school. And Luke would be
know.
like, that was my nickname in high school.
You
I'd
can
be
already
like,
see just the wheels
oh,
turning.
dude, and
like,
and it was like the cobwebs had to clear out. It was like starting like an old car, like
yeah.
boom, it explodes to life, and you're like, oh, there he is. He got 2 chuggas.
Oh, brother.
Well, what would be the 5 senses of humor? Gifts is probably one. Memes. So
Sarcasm. Dad jokes.
Irony,
Ooh.
Irony.
like
Or
slapstick humor, storytelling.
Storytelling
And
and
physical
then
humor.
physical.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I think
like the
this
Jim
is-
Carrey.
Yeah. Robin Williams most times. Yeah. What's his name? Gallagher?
Impersonation.
Big Gallagher fan.
Oh,
over there.
yeah. Squashing
How great was that?
all day.
Just people sitting in the front row covered in trash bags as he just brings out watermelons and smashes them and then laughs at people.
That's good shtick.
It's fucking great.
So Tex and I were talking last night about how, Lexi and I may have the opportunity to go to present at this national conference. And he was like, here's the first thing you need to know. You got to have a prop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, this is easy.
You mean this is hooked up through the Flexi guys?
So in with them through like a co-presenting.
Yeah,
It's possible we might do it.
Well, there's a good chance because the guys at Flexi are deep into Power Athlete Radio. I know when I went and did my talk down there.
How deep, John?
Like episode 1 type of deep.
Oh,
Right?
I can't even find episode
So
1.
what's crazy is when I went down there to do my presentation, they were all sitting in the audience, which was kind of neat to actually have a live studio audience for a podcast. And then we got done. People, like some of the guys were like, hey, in episode 415, when you talked about this, what? And I'm like,
Chris Farley style.
it was awesome. I was like, this is awesome.
Remember
that one time?
Remember that one time?
It was pretty good. The only problem, what they don't realize is after you've done close to 500 podcasts, they all just kind of melt into one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really just only a couple gems that stick out, like the most recent one with Ian Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Good one. Well, it's not even close to 500 podcasts. It's actually legitimately 500 podcasts that you guys have done. So I mean, does it feel like 500? Has it aged you in any way?
You asked that question like you knew the answer.
Has it really drained you of energy? And...
Did you ever see the movie Knockaround Guys?
No.
All right.
John,
in Knockaround Guys, Vin Diesel. It's pretty much one of the only movies I like Vin Diesel in.
Hence why I haven't seen the movie.
But in there, he goes over and they're like in this
opening
bar.
scene.
Yeah. It's not the opening scene, is it?
It's the opening scene.
Well, then maybe they do they snap you there and then they give you the montage on the backside and give you a little history on it. But in it, the guy goes in there. They go in there to pick a fight, and he walks over to the guy and he's like 500. He's like 500 what? 500 fights. 500 fights is how many fights I think that you would need to call yourself a legitimate tough guy. And then he goes through all this thing about like basically like on your way to 500.
Yeah.
He's acting.
I mean it's pretty good. So when you just said 500 right there, I'm
that's
like,
what you thought of?
500 podcasts.
Oh yeah. And
right,
he goes on to then.
That's how many podcasts you need to actually call yourself a podcaster.
Which actually 500 podcasts roughly equates to 10,000 hours.
Well, you would think that we'd be way better at it by now.
4 hours of podcast. I don't have the figures in front of me, but
well, I
we
mean,
can find that out.
Well, it's probably more because there's certain podcasts that we've never released.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember Cali calling me and being like, "We can't release this one." I'm like,
this.
I'm totally fine with
You're
you.
like, I trust you.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
No, I just remember being really uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah, there's a few of those. So I have those filed away under...
Waiting for our political careers?
Exactly.
500 podcasts is what it takes for you to call yourself a legitimate tough guy in the podcast industry.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Rogan's at what, like 4 million?
Oh, I don't even know. Probably a couple
Nobody
thousand.
knows.
I don't know.
He's over like 1,500.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's cut different streams. Now he does like MMA. So then his MMA fans only tune into that, but then those count up to 150 plus the 12.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does an
1,300.
MMA podcast. Callie and I do an MMA podcast. You've never heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't invite you on it because you don't watch MMA.
Perfect.
Mixed
Sounds great.
martial farts.
What does MMA stand for again? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Texas up there playing with a bunch of young boys and their sticks.
Easy.
Easy.
Before coaching, I had to watch several videos that prepared you to look for other signs for lurkers and Sandusky's out there.
Really?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So you have to watch videos.
Like
I think
coach
that's
education.
really wise.
Yeah. And they do scenarios in which if all sorts, not just Sandusky's, dudes that are like cursing and talking down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you must, and I firmly believe you have to step in and say something because a lot of these coaches don't know what the hell they're doing to these kids. We go back to the Harrison Bernstein podcast and Coaching Scars, which stories that you bring up often, John, from your experience. Yeah. So, and I live it, I see it, and I have to intervene and remind these dudes what to do. Quite possibly the greatest line I've ever heard uttered is, I'm going to rip your balls off so that you can't infect the rest of the world with your pussydom.
Was that your mom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doris Bellborn. That is a classic.
Yeah, I was 6 years old. I was 6 years old, and I didn't want to go back in the pool, so she just,
That's funny.
But yeah,
she's like, and you're my son.
Yeah. Imagine what I say to people that aren't my kids. No, but that was a football coach, and I really think like some of this stuff is like, you're like, first of all, how dark what was going on in that guy's life, and second of all, why would you put that on a kid?
But
and then we were just fucking started laughing because of the ridiculous nature of it, and you're like, holy shit.
Well, on the flip side, he doesn't know what's going on in that kid's life. That could be the moment, the trigger.
A trigger.
That then just it doesn't motivate him to be a bad motherfucker.
My question is, when you go through that training and you're becoming peripherally aware of these potential, these life suckers or just threats to the child.
Like, how are you supposed to spot a Sandusky? Trench coat? No pants?
Well, if you don't,
grooming,
if you can't spot
shit
one
like
and
that.
you don't see one, does that mean you are
the Sandusky
the
of the
Sandusky?
team?
You're like, I don't
Every
see what
coaching
they're
staff-
talking about. You're like in
every
your
coaching
trench coat.
staff-
Every
has the
coaching
same.
cast has one.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Look to your left, look to your right. One of those people.
No.
God. I mean, talk
But
about...
here, I ensure you, if a coach then intervened when he heard that and was like, dude, he's like, hey, I'm joking. No. But here we are 30 years later plus, and you fucking remember that.
Yeah.
That matters.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, forever that name. I mean, there's a Sandusky, Ohio, and you know what happens when you go to Sandusky, Ohio.
You buy brake pads?
What happens?
It's Tommy Boy.
Yeah, Tommy Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, you ruined that movie for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, shit, dude. They took down Joe Paterno's statue, and it pretty much scrubbed all of,
Well, the youth, the weight room, the training center, that was all Sandusky complex or whatever. So that was gone. I don't know what it is now. Nobody knows.
Well, it's not even called Happy Valley anymore. It's more like Frown Valley.
Oof. Dark.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
this
guys.
took a dark turn. My God. I'm gonna have to need
Well, there are good coaches out there. somebody's ruined it for the
Name
rest of us,
two.
though.
Oh man, we could have an entire podcast basically on insane things that I've heard coaches say to players.
Yeah, let's fucking do it. I can start.
Tell
Or
me
you want to
one.
do that later?
Yeah, tell me some.
Okay. And I ran into this coach at one of the coaches' conference. He's now selling tackling dummies and shit. So I went up and I'll name drop him, Coach Walker. All right, our sophomore year, a quarterback. It was raining, and we always go in and watch film. And our sophomore quarterback had fumbled the ball, and the kid was like, Coach, I can't grip the ball, because I mean, sophomore teams get the hand-me-downs of the hand-me-downs. These are shitty footballs at a shitty team, and it's whatever, sophomore team, not even JV. Coach, I can't grip the ball. Can't grip the ball. I'll grip your ass.
I've heard this story.
I'll grip your ass.
Yeah.
That might be
What does that even
mean. Yeah, what was going through his mind? He's like, all he focuses on is like 15-year-old butts. And he's like, I'll grip your ass.
I remember
he's been waiting to say that.
his first year of coaching, he won the national championship with University of Texas. So, but then here we are 40 years later, and he's fucking sophomore Katie Taylor football, getting our dicks kicked in every game.
And he's like,
Grip the ball, I'll grip your ass. It's great. One of my teammates he's great impressions. All of our coaches, he dad
good.
down. No, he does it infinitely better. Oh my god! So every time we get together, we just go do roll call on our old ball coaches. And yeah, I had it. I was always getting yelled at. God damn it, Quilkin, you didn't even know where the ball was. Like, I don't even know.
This guy sounds like a character.
That was Coach Walker. We had Atwood.
If you've been coaching high school football for 40 years, your level of insanity is so high.
Oh man, Lexi and I, we spent some time in South Seattle at a high school there that is, it's a struggling kind of community, and we went to one of their football practices to watch, and you had the two types of coaches. You had the one that was so loud and just chewing the kids out for everything, and then you had the one calm, sort of collected, and it's just interesting because I'm like, you go back to kind of what you were referring to earlier, which is what happened in this guy's past or what's happening in his current life, where he comes to this practice because it's like yell therapy for him. That's what it seemed like. And you're like, these kids are like, oh, holy shit, like, why is this guy so angry? This is very bizarre. And it seems
because they're coaching high school football.
It's crazy. It's as if he watched a ton of YouTube videos on like those motivational type thing where they're just yelling and yelling.
Oh yeah, Eric Thomas.
Yeah, and then just taking that to the nth degree, not knowing how to do it with finesse, or when to put it in and sprinkle it in,
I know exactly.
And just only having that as your one tool to connect, and it's just a terrible tool. These kids are like, I'm exhausted listening.
We can't speak down to high school football coaches because they have a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's like an expiration for most of it. Like as long as you stay positive and you can see like the bigger picture in your terms of developing kids, and you realize like, hey, I have this great opportunity to influence, thousands of kids, opposed from just being bittered by the system. And we used to see this with personal trainers.
Everything has diminishing returns at a certain point.
Yeah, like, I mean, how many times have you gone into a gym and been like, oh, these coaches have been here way too fucking long.
Oh,
I need like a coach in their first 6 months, not the coach in like, I've been doing this for 7 years and I'm ready to shoot, pull a gun in my mouth.
We talk about that. I've talked to you a lot about that, and I talked to Lexi a lot about that because, to put myself back in the mindset of just a full-time coach or trainer or personal trainer or something like that, it seems so confining, and it just would, I don't know if it would be fulfilling for me. I mean, obviously if it was, I'd still be doing it, but it just, especially when you have just your Gen Pop person, it kind of feels like Groundhog Day, and that's just, eventually you're not going to bring the energy, the excitement, and the potency to whoever your client is. And that's when you need to kind of check yourself and say, all right, where's the room for growth for me so that I can continue to give? Because it can pull from you. And we had that experience before, just working at the gym.
Well, I think there's an expiration for everything.
Yeah.
But as long as you can stay positive, I think that you can extend it. But the minute that all of a sudden it becomes a chore and every day you get up, I mean, man, one of the funniest lines I've ever heard was my brother's linebacker coach in college. So I was down on the field. I was in high school. My brothers played college football. They're Division III, so I'm down on the field just kind of like, I don't know, just hanging out. And I hear the defense comes off, and they had just got their fucking asses kicked. And their linebacker coach brings their linebackers over, sitting on the bench, and he's screaming at them, You guys are the nicest motherfuckers I've ever met. So nice, I'll let you date my sister. Remind me to give you her number after.
What?
You guys are the nicest fucking dudes I've ever met.
He doesn't even have a sister.
Right? It was great. He's like, I'd let you date my sister. Come remind me after the game. I'm going to give you her number.
Oh, my God.
And I was
what
like,
a compliment.
That was hilarious.
Sister was a complete whore.
But I just thought it was like, you guys are the nicest guys I've ever met. I'm glad to have you date my sister.
Well, that's a real compliment.
Yeah. It wasn't meant as a compliment.
I feel like
like
that wasn't the intention.
In the middle of the game, when your coach tells you what a nice guy you are, because they're obviously, you're so nice that they're getting your ass kicked, you're letting them kick your ass. Yeah. And so nice that he says, I think you guys are such nice guys.
Yeah, you're so soft.
You're so soft and gentle that I'm going to let you date my sister.
Yeah.
Remind me to come get her number.
For some reason that was over my head, but that is the ultimate insult.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah, it was great.
But when you talk about having an expiration date to things, I'm curious, I know like in your history with the NFL and like there is an expiration date in terms of like what your body can do and also just like the travel and the mentality you have to have. And then I think about like in terms of like our career, imagine like I wonder how you guys would do in a field where like a traditional field where you go in and you're waiting for retirement and you're kind of locked into like a union type job, that kind of thing. Because that's one of the things that we struggle with is for a myriad of reasons. Obviously retention right now is a huge issue with police work. But, I think about like, how do we extend that expiration date? And a lot of it has to do with just general health and mental health and that kind of thing so that you don't get to the point where you're like, I just can't fucking do this anymore. But I think it's the problem is I think it's natural for people to evolve beyond whatever their current thing is.
Sure.
So I think it's
so you have to have growth.
Exactly. You have to look for growth though. Sure. in a career like police work. Like you can't just do patrol. I mean, you could, but you have to have something to look forward to grow into a new maybe position or a new responsibility. So I mean, yeah, I'm just curious like what your thoughts would be for that traditional person who's like imagine firefighting for 30 years.
Those guys, I mean, they love like lots of chili cook-offs.
There's not a lot of diversity in that job, though. Like you're the hose guy, you're the guy with the wheel, ladder person.
Yeah, but then they grow up into be, like I know one of the guys I went to high school with played football. He, got out of college, got into the fire academy, and I think he's a chief now. So those guys, once they kind of get into that position, it affords them
but I feel like
to be able to do more stuff.
It's still kind of Groundhog Day-y. I mean, obviously you have interesting calls and things like that, but like that's the same uniform, same job for like 30 years. It's like, how do you just extenuate that longevity? And yeah, it's tough. I don't know. Become the calendar guy, photo shoots, get jacked.
I mean,
or maybe they just like helping people. I mean, firemen, like nobody's mad at a fireman. Nobody's talking about defunding the fire department.
No, they're not.
Everybody's fucked.
They should. Have you seen their weight rooms? My God, they don't need all that equipment.
Well, no, then find a side hustle, find a creative outlet.
Exactly. I think that's a good point. Having balance outside of whatever you do, and even for anybody, like even if you're not in like a traditional kind of 30-year job, like
what's the expiration on being a cop? Like, I mean, can you legitimately go in and be a cop for 30 years? I mean, I know people do it, but like what's the point that you see where it's kind of the boiling point where people just start going to the dark side?
Well, actually, around 5 years is the time where people make a decision whether they're going to leave the line of work or they're going to transfer departments. That's around the threshold for that kind of thing. When you get to be closer to 10 years, you've already accrued, if your department has sort of like a seniority point system, or, you have like your retirement sort of squared away. Or for us, it's like you have invested in deferred comp and all this stuff. So there's a lot more to lose in terms of like, as you approach that 10-year mark. But 5 years is right around that time where if you're going to make a change, that's where most people see it. Unfortunately, though, a lot of people that were hired at our department maybe a year ago, just before all of this happened, a lot of those people took that opportunity, that very first window, saying like, hey, I may have just graduated the academy, but I don't want to work in this department in the city. And they just bounced. So a lot of new people, new hires, just, it was like.
Can they take that passing academy and go work in?
Yeah, once you've gone to a post-rated academy, you can kind of
there's states that allow like that lateral to occur, and you can go anywhere in Washington, that's for sure. But there are some states though that California, for instance, requires you to go through their academy all over again, and so they have and they have their own system. You got to work at the jails and all that stuff. So
well, I believe to be a sheriff, the sheriffs start in the jails in California.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
So all the sheriffs start in the jails. That's why when we were kids, there was obviously in our town there was we obviously had city police, but then there was also the sheriffs were always around, and the sheriffs were always fucking assholes. and the reason being was that they start in the jails,
well,
so
they
they're
had
by
feces flung at them for like whatever
well,
a year or 2 years.
They're a lot meaner. I just remember the sheriffs just always were fucking assholes, and rightly so, because it's a tougher job.
I don't know if rightly so is the right word. It's just, and also like the culture now is just it demands the utmost customer service, and so.
At what point do they start having to run for their position? Because I see signs all over town like,
for sheriff.
I don't know if it's sheriff.
Yeah, that's for sheriff. Those are elected positions.
So sheriff is kind of like, it can be a generic term for like sheriff's department, like that that type of agency. But then there's also the sheriff position, like I'm the sheriff of this town, like that guy.
Well, aren't the sheriffs
position.
usually the county? Like the county sheriff?
I think so,
cities and towns usually have police, and then the counties have sheriffs.
Yeah.
So
for us, it would be King County Sheriff's Department. Yeah.
Like Lake Travis Sheriff.
Yeah. So.
Hayes County Sheriff.
And they kind of go everywhere. So.
Yeah. Then they can kind of patrol everywhere.
Man, that's a lot of ground to cover.
It's a lot of ground. Well, there's a lot of crime. I don't know about out here, but
cheeky teenager shenanigans.
Well, it was set up because obviously municipalities and small cities were like in this area, and hey, this is what our size is. But then who patrols this other area, and that's where like okay, these are the county, so it's kind of just a bigger area to cover.
Like I said, a lot of crime.
Jumping back to the fitness industry, and we
Talk to me.
Brought to light in the trainer's course, then that's meant for the individual just getting into the industry so they avoid burnout.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
to provide perspective for that 5-year personal training mark.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you think it's pretty similar for personal trainers and for coaches, like a 5-year mark?
Was for me, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it was 5 years?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that was the point where I was like, and also like just people who even remotely want you to create programs and that kind of thing for them. It's like, at least I know that when we were doing that, you put so much effort and energy. And when we, you really do, like, you try to make it as individualized as possible. You want to cater to that person's need, their limitations, whatever. And it is so draining to know that when you are in touch with that person, at least this is something that hurt my longevity. They're like, oh yeah, sorry about that. I missed last week. You're like, what do you mean you missed last week? It took me 3 days to come up with a comprehensive, 4-week program.
Plan of attack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, this speaks exactly to what I was getting to, that there are coach mistakes. So if you're aware of these, you can avoid getting into that.
The pitfalls.
It's getting into that. The first one was making workouts too complex, confusing, or taking away the confidence of an individual. Like we talked to.
It's discouraging for them to experience it. Yeah. Uh-huh. There's so much truth to that, because what you do when you create a program is you want to highlight your own expertise, but that's not the focus. Like, you got to put your ego aside. That person's not going to look at your program and say, wow, Cali really put a lot of time and effort into this. Like, she knows what she's talking about. They're not going to say that.
And then
adherence is the key.
The same side is, oh man, this workout was easy. They can do this.
Right.
What? You're comparing your abilities to no.
Yeah.
Next one is not interested. So you give your passionate speech of this is the toes forward squat, yada, and the person, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
So you're trying to push your interest in what you love about fitness onto them, and then you're mad at them or upset or frustrated because they don't share
that passion,
the same passion. We see that very often. I experienced this as well.
That's so true. It's like it's just putting it's almost like, you know, you're investing too much of your emotion into it, and it needs to be just kind of can I say transaction? No, I shouldn't, but it should be, you know, it should be like you said, like you should take the emotion out of it and understand that really, especially when you're working with someone at a certain level, you don't need to make things super complex just to highlight your abilities, or you don't need to go through a paragraph description for people who are super basic level. Like it's not important, you know, to talk about toes forward or, you know,
why the stretch shortening cycle.
Just do it.
Huh?
Yeah.
Do what now?
Yeah.
What's the exercise again?
Yeah, but
I'm gonna grip your ass.
I think people like to create complexity because it gives them like the allure of expertise, you know. So like with a lot of this stuff, I mean, you know, like especially when you start putting out programming, there's like enough information to give them buy-in, but too much creates paralysis. Mm-hmm. So it's something when I write like, you know, the descriptions in the training programs and start putting this stuff together, you almost have to like balance a little humor, just enough information to kind of get people headed in the right direction, just enough direction to like get them to execute, but not so much that it like overcomplicates.
That's it. And that is a great point. Yeah.
And this is our third mistake. You make it overwhelming.
Yeah.
So not only like we're speaking to the interest before, but now it's just too daunting. And then I can't do this.
They're
training.
like, I gotta, something else is happening.
If it's too complicated or can't be executed easy, people won't do it.
Yeah. We want and we speak to this in the course, we want the hardest part of their day, getting the courage to get in the car and show up. Mm-hmm. We don't want them to be stressed in that 60, 45, 90, however long it is.
That's the biggest hurdle. And it's one thing that I found not only in just programming for people in general, but also like when I started programming for the department and putting stuff out there, you want to, like I said, you want to kind of highlight what you can do for them. You also want to distinguish, say, hey, like we're doing something different. And so you have I had a tendency to make things a little too complex for just your average person that's trying to train, because you want to be like, hey, we're not this generic program, this generic app that you've been using or whatever. So yeah, that's a mistake. And like I found through what I'm doing is just like adherence comes through kind of that simplicity, and then also having kind of like you said, like a genuine tone about it, because the program doesn't necessarily have to be super unique, the movements, all that stuff, because it'll be effective. But
you know, there's only 7 primal movement patterns.
Exactly. And but if your tone is unique and they like how it's being delivered, the communication style, that's going to be the thing that they're like, oh, that's different.
What kind of adherence are you getting in these programs?
So we have, in terms of the app that we're using now, we have 116 people that we released it about 2 weeks ago. 116 people signed up to use it. And on any given day, there's about 10, 20 people who actually do the workouts. Mm-hmm. So that's not great, but it's not terrible also. You consider where we might be in 6 months from now, and even if we're at like, you know, 30% of the people that signed up, that's still way more adherence. And so, you know, we're trying to maintain some optimism about it. Of course, I would love all 116 people to be like logging every day, but you know, it's baby steps. So
sure.
And you touched on our final mistake that we speak to the course, and that's like you don't want to go over there to their training and start talking negatively about that, or you wouldn't need to avoid that program, or this is where this person got wrong. So you're speaking to a potential client and you're just negative town for other people's products and why you're better than them.
Yeah,
and
that's
you know
true.
it. Huge mistake that people can get into, because it's certainly one of those cognitive biases which we feel we're better and then, you know, they're negative. So I would encourage fitness professionals to avoid that, but using an authentic voice of this is what you're going to get out of this.
Right.
Or what are you aiming to get? Okay, here's how I can empower your performance,
right.
fitness, health, strength, all the good stuff.
For us too, and as far as like the adherence and people who are actually doing it, one of the things too is like making myself and the other people that assist with it extremely accessible in terms of like asking questions. So now that's very encouraging. I'd rather have like people emailing questions or messaging me questions in the app and stuff, because I mean, it just goes to show you that somebody's using it, somebody wants to learn, somebody's using the expertise, and slowly every day there's more and more people engaging and asking questions, and they're all the basic things that you can imagine. But it is extremely encouraging because they didn't even have that before. They didn't even have that outlet. So I think even just for illusion reasons, like at least shows that the department is investing in their physical well-being
and aiming to change the culture.
Exactly.
Creating a culture of movement, fitness, strength,
wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Because I think that, let's not, beat around the bush. If they want to hold on to officers, they have to appeal to that. Like, that's the main thing. It's all about the bottom line.
Sure.
As, May approaches and as the end of the Chauvin trial comes to an end, we just can't afford to lose anybody else. And
how's that going?
Well,
I mean, obviously the Chauvin trial's going on. We just had that shooting up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That 20-year-old kid. We talked a little bit about it last night, but
yep.
It feels like everything that happens around the country, somehow the greatest reaction happens in Seattle and Portland.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I think just historically Seattle has been, especially during like the... was it the Occupy times or the WTO? It's historically just been an extremely outspoken city, and people pride themselves on being like anarchist against the grain type. I think there's a huge contingency where that is kind of the legacy of the city. So they're very proud to do that. And it's just ironic though, because we have one of the most progressive police departments with the highest accountability, under supervision of the DOJ. So it's like, it's just an interesting environment. But in terms of like all of the police involved shootings that have occurred, like Lexi, who's still on the street, she was called in from home to go and respond to a protest that was being organized as a result of the most recent shooting, and where the officer mistakenly deployed her gun instead of her taser. And so, or at least that's what she's arguing. And so, it's this complete knee-jerk all the time, and I think just the city's like, we're plugging holes with the officers that we can, and that's that's just it. They're just trying to stay afloat, pretty much. You
think most police departments are in a similar situation with this kind of move to defund the police department?
No, I actually think that most police departments are not, because if you look at how many police departments exist, that most of police departments are, I'm not sure of the exact number, but they're under 100 officers. They're like around 50 officers. So if you look at by department, maybe not by officer per capita, but by department, I think most departments are very supported by their communities. If you look at populous cities, though, yes, that's where you're getting people that are going through the defund. Of course, you have a high density of people and political activity and that kind of thing, as opposed to like your bohunk town in the middle of wherever. But yeah.
Nice word. I haven't heard anybody use the word bohunk since
twice a day. I got to use it. This is a bohunk town.
My mom uses the word bohunk, and I just thought it was a Canadian term.
Well, I'm bringing it down. It's in the Pacific Northwest right now,
it must be.
It's trickling down. But yeah, I think that's just the kind of the misnomer, the kind of the myth about everything is that most police departments, most departments, that's actually not true. There's hundreds and hundreds of departments who are doing just fine, but they're smaller departments.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, we definitely have like people are still actively very, very upset with just status quo of police work. And it's funny because Lexi showed me a meme just the other day in response to the most recent shooting, the one that I kind of spoke of, and it's just a meme of like a guy, like, I don't know if he's on the sideline. I guess it's a popular meme, but he's on like the sideline of a basketball game or something. It's just like shaking his head, and it's like, this is every police officer in response to like this mistake, that this woman, like the poor decision making. And it's like, you're just fucking making it so hard for us to just do a good job, to just do our job. Everybody fucking hates us, and it's like, just these incidents are just, they're...
Yeah, but think about how many interactions there are with police officers a day.
So many.
So we got a country
so
think about, we have a country of 330 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how many people are involved in some form of interaction with law enforcement, whether it be like speeding ticket, DV calls or something to the house, or domestic, disturbances, or I don't know, like fucking road violations or people get pulled over. I mean, like how many interactions a day happen in this country? It's got to be in the thousands. Yeah. You know, if not more, you know, like the tens of thousands. And
on a busy day in our department, you know, your average officer can have up to, you know, maybe 15 calls in a day, which that's a lot of interactions with people. If you think about like a 9-10 hour shift. And
most of those end, you know, without the loss of life. Yeah, without a hitch. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and the situation, which I think nobody's talking about, is the officer that mistakenly went for her taser and pulled her gun, you know, had been off the street for a long time. I mean, has 20 plus years.
26 years. Yeah. And she was an FTO, which is a field training officer. So she had experience training newer officers. And I don't know a ton about her background other than kind of what we've discussed. But yeah, I mean, if that is her case, that they had to basically bring her back on the street due to staffing issues and in response to major either protests.
Budget cuts.
Yeah, exactly. So that's very parallel to what our department is experiencing because when we had an exodus of a lot of officers.
How many officers did you guys lose?
I actually talked to someone from HR and they said they could give me the exact number, but it's well over 150 and just a...
Yeah. How many total though? Like out of 150 out of
200.
Oh God.
Well, it's just Lexi and I on the street.
Yeah, it's just yeah. You haven't seen
who's watching the streets now?
Cagney and Lacey just cruising around with
oh my God.
You know, squad cars just playing bumper cars the whole way.
I think there is about I want to say there's about maybe 300-400 on patrol.
Okay,
but
so
that's we have the lowest ratio officer per capita in the country right now.
How many people are in Seattle?
I don't know. Tex, Google it. I can't remember, but I know that
get back to you in 5.
We're ranked like the lowest in terms of.
There's got to be 3 million people at least in Seattle.
Yeah, I want to say it's close to 3. But yeah, so it's. So my point is that the department had to call back a bunch of detectives and things like that who were off the street for a while doing their office job and get them back onto patrol. And you're like looking at Go ahead.
3.5 million.
3.5. So that's a lot of people. And so when they had these people come back on the street, you have also this perfect storm of COVID going on. So there's no in-person training able to occur. So you know, those people are all qualled. Everyone has to qual with their handgun, but they haven't undergone physical.
I thought they took guns from you guys and just gave you purple dildos.
I can't speak to that, John.
Because one of my favorites is there was actually a video of protesters basically hitting the cops. With,
that's true.
Like with these like big dildos.
Nightsticks.
Dude, I haven't laughed so hard. Like, can you imagine if you're a cop and you're like, I just got smacked in the face with a huge purple dildo?
So it is funny to watch, but I can tell you in working in my capacity in the wellness unit that like that kind of stuff, after being on the line for days on end, hours and hours, like that shit was like insult to injury. It's obviously funny, but it's also like they are not able to respond. And it's, imagine if that was you. Like, you're not able to respond.
Yeah, no.
And you have to go home day after day
and just getting smashed with a purple dildo.
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
and it's just one of those things where, you know,
you're like, just give me one. Just give me one. Like a rubber ear to the bullet or a rubber bullet to the ear.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's just an insult to injury. It's like humiliating. It's like, you know, I don't know if I've told you, but like some of the experiences I've had on the protest line have been absolutely humiliating. I had a person with a bullhorn say my name because it's on my uniform. And then it just so happened that when I was at this particular protest, there was a bunch of brass, like high-ranking people behind me. And so they said my name and some of the people around me that I was the whore of the department and that I had sex with all these people. And they're talking about like people that are my boss and my boss's boss, calling them out by name and saying like, you know, see, Hinzman is effed. It's this person and all that stuff. And they even said like she has sex with her own kids and her own family, like just the most awful stuff. And you're like, this person's trying to get a rise out of me.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, like, it's just the most. It's for them. I'm almost like, are you hearing yourself? Like this is the lowest form of life.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. No, I mean them and they're probably the same people that comment on YouTube videos.
The lowest form of life.
Yeah, the lowest form of life is people that comment on YouTube videos.
Yeah. It probably is. It's amazing they were able to pull away from their
mom's basement.
Yeah,
they're like in their mom's basement, all riled up, being like, "Oh, hold on, let me get my purple dildo on my fucking megaphone."
Yeah, pretty sad stuff.
They're finally able to use them.
Dude,
just opened up the case,
the protest kit.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if the protest
break in case of emergency,
and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Well, I wonder if the protesters, and this is something that was blowing my mind in Portland, what's their day job? They had they're assaulting that federal building for 70 days with fireworks. And they're doing all this crazy stuff, and it's the protesters, and they're like, oh, it's the same people keep coming back. I'm like, what are those guys doing for their day work?
Well, that's just it. Is it, like I said, perfect storm of a lot of people losing their jobs and things like that. Service industry, and I'm of course generalizing, but you can definitely see and make the argument for folks with that type of job where businesses were closing or they had to let people go. They just had an opportune time to let some of the hate in their heart out, And it's just, I understand if people want to peacefully protest, and you can for any reason that you want, free speech. But it's just some of the things that are being said and done, and obviously the violence and property destruction is completely uncalled for, and it's it just, to me, it speaks volumes of the type of character that you have to, or the lack of character to do something like wave a dildo in an officer's face for 10 hours. It's like, what is...
I'm wondering, first of all, where do you buy those?
What does that do? What is that doing for Black lives?
I'll Google that for you, John.
It's ridiculous to me. It's how is that progressing your, vision? I'm all for progressive police work. That's great. Let's do it. I'm all about growing, but, have a tactic, have a goal, and work towards that goal. Allow us to work with you. But yeah, so it's definitely a frustrating environment, and obviously more frustrating for Lexi and stuff. And my heart goes out to everybody who's still on the line right now.
That leads me into this question I wanted to pose. How is the wellness aim in the whole department helping people with morale? How are you keeping morale up when it's relentless out there?
So one of the first things is there just hasn't been a time where officers really felt like they were being listened to. And we go and we ask them in roll calls, how do you think that the department has done as a whole in taking care of you during this hard time? And everyone's it's just been shitty. So the first thing, I know it sounds so silly, but make sure all their basic needs are met. If they have stuff that they need to get at their precinct, if on the line they're not getting their breaks frequently, all this needs to be conveyed, so that is the minimum we can do.
How do you guys do breaks? If you guys are in a protest, and you guys are obviously doing crowd control or whatnot, are you there for 30 minutes, an hour, and then somebody comes and taps you on the shoulder and takes your spot? It's
usually much, much longer than that. But the people who are on the front, there might be a little more turnover, but that doesn't, you're still in a unit that's standing by. You're still right there, immediate, you can't leave, that kind of thing, typically. And then oftentimes there'll be, a lot of times there's just officers who, as individuals, they get a hand on the shoulder, you need to get off, because you can see them getting built up, or they start engaging with someone. And so I think that is a really cool team aspect, where you see someone reaching about the threshold that they can reach, and you're let's not engage. So you just kind of remove that person and replace them.
When what's the line that has to get crossed for it to go from all right, these guys are protesting and they're fucking assholes and they're acting a certain way, I have to take this, to where holy shit, we're fucking going to fucking fight these dudes? Is there
that line, we pull that line back, and we pull that line back, and we pull that line back, and they just meet us there. And that's, I think, so, and Lexi would be able to speak to that too, is the way Seattle has been operating under the, sort of the vision of the mayor, is that we are going to pull our line back, withstand until a precinct is taken over. For instance, the East Precinct, which was our precinct. So there's been a huge amount of tolerance in order to what her vision is, allow people free speech and that kind of thing. And now, the public got essentially what they wanted in terms of that. They got to, make this big statement. And now that precinct is fortified with large blocks. I don't know, thousands of pounds, that kind of thing. And now the community is upset because it's an eyesore and it doesn't feel welcoming.
Oh, in Belfast.
Yeah.
Belfast.
I mean, at one point they were throwing batteries at officers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking like, all right, if you're throwing a battery at my face, like then
there were
that's an assault.
Explosives thrown.
Yeah.
There were
yeah, they were shooting like, I mean, they had umbrellas up, and then they were like moving the umbrellas and then like shooting fireworks and putting them back to block.
That's their thing is they bring umbrellas and that kind of thing, and it's a contingency of people that are they're clearly distracting from the issue. They're the Antifa, really. And so it's not even the Black Lives Matter movement. These are people who are very destructive. That's
usually what happens. You'll have like the
hijacking
it's these, Marxist anarchists. What they'll do is they look for some social movement to attach on the back, like a parasite.
Opportunists.
And then that's what allows them to ride in and give them opportunity, So, I mean, every Marxist kind of group like that, that's what they wait for. They wait for some social thing to ride on the back of.
Yeah. I know. And we've talked about this, I know you're one of your favorite quotes is, in the absence of leadership, these these charlatans will appear or whatever.
In the absence of true leadership, false prophets appear. Yeah.
And it is one of those things where people latch on to what appears to be a very powerful and strong thing. And it's like, these people are jabronis and they don't have a vision. They're not having conversation about how to improve X, Y, and Z. They're just purely destructive. So,
well, the other thing too is at which point, and we discussed this last night, like at which point do we say that the, like the social contract where, we live in this country, we pay taxes. There's a social contract of like, hey, if I do it, at least the way I look at it, like if I'm involved with something with law enforcement, my job is to, survive the incident. We've talked about that. Yeah. So I'm always amazed that people get into these situations and it's like, oh, the guy's got an arrest warrant. He's got no license. The car's expired. Like normal people, like I'm not going out and driving around if I don't have a license. If my car's expired, I'm not driving that car. If I have an arrest warrant, I'm probably not out speeding.
Yeah.
And so at which point do we make the individuals willing participants in this thing?
When they're criminals, when they're actively breaking the crime, they have decided that they're going to engage in possible law enforcement action. I mean, you shake the hand of the law and you're like, all right, let's do this, you know, and you gamble, that kind of thing. But the thing is, I think kind of like Lexi was talking over dinner is, when she stops the vehicle, like she did, very similar to the incident that happened most recently, with the other female officer, but those, she was able to make an arrest on a guy who had a warrant and he had, I don't even know, expired tabs and all this stuff. He was driving without a license and it was a compliant interaction. Didn't he know? He's like, I'm going to jail. Yeah. And she says, well, why do you say that? He's like, I don't have a license. And she was like, well, let's, we'll see what we can do. Yeah. She runs.
This is Seattle. You don't really need a license. It's encouraged, but it's not mandatory.
So she runs his name, and of course he has a DOC warrant.
Yeah.
And so it kind of goes off without a hitch. But it's funny. I was talking to her about that, and all of it is, for the most part, it's highly dependent on what that person decides. It's a lot of the ball's in their court, right? So if they say, I understand, I'm going to jail because I broke the law, then they are choosing the rules of that game. And if they're like, well, I'm just going to try to get back in my car, or I'm going to try to run or whatever, then they change. Things evolve,
This is a hard thing for me. Growing up, and this is what I've always assumed, if you run from the police and they catch you, you're going to catch a beat.
Well, it doesn't work like that now.
No, I know it didn't. But if you get pulled over, if you make the decision to run, just know that whatever happens, you either get away or something bad's going to happen. Well, so you have to weigh and be like, okay, if me going to, obviously his license was suspended, warrant for his arrest. I mean, for a gun violation. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was just a whole bunch of stuff. And then it's well, he was scared of the police. I'd be fucking scared of the police too if I was driving around and that was my fucking record.
Nobody wants to get pulled over.
No, but what's amazing though is think about how many people have those similar kind of backgrounds going on and are driving around that don't get pulled over.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that happens. And so that's why I'm saying they just kind of roll the dice because it's, if they knew our staffing, they'd probably be like, oh yeah, there's no chance. But it's funny that you say kind of getting run down, catch a beat. Well, that doesn't occur anymore. But one of the things that Tex and I were talking about recently, and something that I have brought up to our training department and kind of talked about, is a foot pursuit never ends like in not tangled up mess. Like it never ends where the person's like, all right, like hand in the rib, like you got me.
The
like,
fastest kid alive.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's just beer.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't happen like that. It usually happens where in like a pile, and so it's one of the things that you and I were kind of talking about, and like I said, is there has to be some training too about how, you know, what do you do when you catch up to the person? Because if you're fast enough, you absolutely will. And we talked about, because I know you're coming up with some kind of sprinting type stuff for LEO and that kind of thing. And it's something you have to keep in mind is it's not just going out and running. You have to be running and also making like a decision of, all right, well, there's like a grate in the sidewalk there, and I don't want to like wrap that person up there. That sounds painful. You know?
The other one, and I really think it's just a long lost skill of how to effectively clear a fence with one jump. So, I mean, we were pretty good in
broad jump.
Dude, we were pretty good about being able to like hit the fence and then be able to vault over to be able to get through fences to be able to run from people.
That's not happening with
and
me.
So, like, I just wonder if those skills are not as developed as they used to be.
Nah.
So, I mean, when you take off running, you're going through backyards, you got to hurdle fences, you got to do that. I mean, your agility goes through the roof.
Yeah. I've never hopped it. I've gone over fence, but I've never hopped a fence.
You've never been in a situation where you've seen a dude just like rocket over the fence and you're like, holy shit, how did that dude get over that fence like that?
Yeah, I have seen people, and I've also seen people just try to clear a fence, and we've pulled them down from the fence. But it's not like, as athletic as I need to be, you're also anticipating that this person you're chasing who is extremely athletic, and it's like oftentimes they get to the fence and they're kind of like, oh fuck, like too, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it happens. It just has not happened in my very short career where I felt like I had to quickly jump a fence, and usually, you know, I would imagine if I was in that situation, it was just no way it was going to happen. I would just say his location, someone would pick him up, you know. We have enough people to do that typically. So anyway, we don't have to talk only about police work.
No, I think it's fascinating. I think it's really fascinating, like when you enter into this thing, and it's like, I think if we did a better job of explaining like the process, like, hey, you know, when the lights go on, you know, you're being detained. Mm-hmm. You know, so that the officer can, you know, and what's the job of the officer? Hey, I'm here to investigate crimes. I'm here to, you know, potentially, you know, implement the law in an interesting way. And I think like people don't necessarily understand like the function of it.
Yeah, maybe not anymore.
Are there any initiatives in your city for developing relationships at a young age, a healthy relationship with law enforcement at a young age?
And that's the thing is they've been in existence for a long time prior to all this stuff. Houston, we had GREAT and DARE. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So GREAT, gang
DARE.
resistance, education, and training.
Mm-hmm.
So then police would come in, and the whole objective of my thought was, this is a police officer. He's a good person. They're a good person.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think anybody goes out. Like nobody goes out, like I'm sure as you're, you know, buckling up your, your uniform and putting your gun belt on and doing all your stuff that you're thinking, man, I hope I go out and I get into an officer related shooting today. Nobody fucking wants that.
No.
It's kind of like we were down hanging out with the guys from Black Rifle Coffee yesterday at this adaptive bow hunting deal.
Shoot. Yeah.
And I was talking with you know, the guys at Black Rifle about some incidents, and it's pretty amazing, like the situations people put themselves into without thinking, like, what's the worst possible outcome I can get into this today? I mean, like that kid didn't get in the car, and I mean, did he get in the car as 20-year-old kid and think, man, I got a gun violation, I got a suspended license, this, you know, like goes through the laundry list and thinks, man, if I put the key in the car and I go out and drive today, there's a chance I get pulled over and this interaction isn't going to go positive.
Yeah, it breaks your heart. The whole thing is just unfortunate, you know. I mean, on both ends of it, like there's just so many variables, and like I just think, I mean, me personally, my personal opinion, this is like such a freak accident, and also just a myriad of, I mean, she had 26 years on, and it's a huge bummer, and I'm sure she feels extremely, extremely remorseful. It's gonna follow her for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
So
And
as it should.
I mean, but it just goes back that, defunding the police is probably not the best thing. How about like funding better training for the police?
Well, and that might be the reaction. Hopefully that's the rational reaction of like, hey, let's really dive into, because they're going to, I'm sure when she goes through a criminal trial, they're going to dive into, what steps the department took to set her up for success on getting back on the street. And if it's anything like Seattle, a lot of the onus is just on you to be training and be vigilant in your own process of maintaining your skills.
Do you remember a couple months ago when we had this big freeze here in Austin?
Yes.
So the reason the freeze happened was, part of the power grid here in Texas is supported by wind. Mm-hmm. And all these like wind stations and energy and batteries and the whole deal. So with COVID, they stopped doing inspections. And they really hadn't prepared, and the inspections hadn't happened. And they thought, well, we've never had any of these problems. And then all of a sudden, a storm that hasn't hit in like 150 years comes.
Fluke, yeah.
And so we got all this rain, and then the temperature dropped, and everything froze, and all the turbines froze, and all the preparations that they were supposed to have in place, so that if something catastrophic that never happens, like here's how they do it. And that was the kind of the end game. So it's like if they had all these things in place, but they hadn't prepared. Mm-hmm. And I think, they'd only been doing like zoom in visual inspections. Sure. And they'd only done like 10% of all the facilities.
Yeah, well, you open the margin of error up, way up. Yeah.
And it's like when we start getting into a situation where, that'll never happen, it usually fucking happens.
Yeah, that's never a good approach, especially to a high stakes job like police work.
Well, yeah. So like, I wonder if the perception of like training, like, because I mean, think about like you get lulled into kind of a false sense. Like you go out and you have some interactions and everything's positive, and then all of a sudden one goes fucking south. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like, this is what we did in football. Like I didn't prepare for the every play. I prepared for like the one move that was going to make me fucking into a highlight reel.
Yeah,
where the dude throws you.
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden when that move gets thrown at you and you're like, holy shit, dude, like this was the one I prepared for. Right. Because this is the one that's going to end me up on highlight, exactly. ESPN.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very similar. And you're kind of going back to what you're saying. Like, I'm sure you don't put your belt on thinking like I want to get into a shooting today. That's true. I'd never say that, but I do have, I'm very like, kind of ritualistic, but like when I do put my boots on, especially when I was on the street and stuff, I think to myself, all right, I'm putting these boots on. This could be the day that I get into shooting. And it was just like every shift, because I never wanted to be surprised if it happened. I wanted to mentally think, all right, today's a day I could get into a shooting, and like just put the boots on, do what you can do. And I don't know, it's just like a mental thing, like mentally transition into like a more vigilant type of state. And I know it sounds really corny, but it was an important part of me to kind of not be caught off guard and remind myself that there are bad people out there. Because you can come back from a weekend of just like hanging out with your friends and going back to like kind of a civilian mindset, but kind of put the boots on, like, all right, there are people that just hate your guts, who want to come up to your window and take you out, like that kind of stuff. So just so that I can at least say like, well, I tried to be as prepared as possible and as prepared for my my fellow officers as I can. Because you don't want to be that person. Oh, I never thought it was going to happen to me. Well, I always thought it was going to happen to me.
Yeah, that's the false sense of security people get lulled into.
You don't want it, but you always expect it. And I actually learned kind of that mindset when I was doing some role playing for our SWAT team. And a guy I think I was hiding in a closet of some like abandoned building that we were doing some training. And, he was completely calm when he opened the door. And I had hid in a different place in this place many times. And he was super calm, and we kind of talked about it afterwards. And he was like, that's the one thing you got to understand is we expect that every door we open there's going to be somebody in it. We just expect that. And then when there's not someone in there, that's in our mind, that's like the exception to the rule. We expect that every door has a person behind it. And so I think it's kind of taking that mentality it helps you make better decisions. You're not like, oh shit, So I think that's a really cool part of their training, and it's not something I think that's commonly practiced. So.
And your training has changed.
It has trained immensely. Yeah, in my own personal training. I try to now follow what's being provided to us through this LEO training. as solidarity with department and that kind of thing. And it's very similar to, everything that we teach at Power Athlete. But, I would say that it's a grindstone life,
You're like, I got you. Like people are like, hey, can you help us? You're like, don't worry. I know some people that know some people that have done some stuff with some people that have done some stuff.
Yeah, it's the Andy Stumpf approach. But it's, it's like right now my personal life is just like, I try to get 3 workouts in a week, and that's on a really good week. And
you're also a new mom.
That's just it. Is the intensity. My husband is still gone. He's in training. And so
You mean hiding?
Yeah, he's gone. He went out for a pack of cigarettes and never returned.
Does she walk yet?
Okay. He's like, keep me posted. Yeah, I'm gonna be employed for the next 7 years. When she comes back, she's ready for middle school.
He contacts me through Morse code.
and a weird set of smoke signals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's got a couple Indian blankets that he's hiding under.
So I mean, it's definitely a challenge time-wise. I try to not make that an excuse because there is time. You can carve out the time. It's just how do you prioritize your life? Like, what is your release? How do you want to spend your time? And part of it too is like, I just, for my daughter, like she's getting to the age where she recognizes the things that I'm doing. And so I'll take her out to the garage, even if it's only a 20-minute workout. I want her to see me doing movements and engaging with her and that kind of thing. And it's very amusing to her at this age. So the training has definitely changed, but I still, the things lift heavy and do sprints. I mean, that's like the CrossFit football staple.
You would be amazed at the things that kids notice. Like we went to dinner last night, and some of Kate's barn mom's friends came, and the one lady, did you notice, got that massive piece of cheesecake?
Delicious.
And we saw it like
did I notice?
Yeah, no, like all of a sudden this cheesecake comes, and like I see everybody like look up at it, and the lady sits down and starts hammering this cheesecake, and we get in the car, and what are the first thing the girls say? How come she gets cheesecake every time? And
it's good they're at the age where they waited to the car.
Normally Jamie will just they're
Jamie
smart.
is such a character. My God.
She's
Killy was like, yeah, there's some teachers at school that have been asking me to run track, because I'm good. And Jamie's like, no one's asking you that. Name one person. Like it was hilarious. She's like, who? No one is asking you to run track. Like, it was
yep, it's
ball buster.
Relentless.
They're so young too.
And
I know.
Oh, I know you know, but like
recipient A. They practiced on you.
I fucking hear it, and the funny because Killy will be like, oh, I did really good on my spelling test. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
And Jamie's like, it's because they're 4th grade words. So Jamie got pushed, or not pushed because she was just they basically just put her in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. So she's like a year ahead. She's like, well, yeah, because those are 4th grade words. And so like we're driving in the car today. I take her to school on Fridays, and we're like practicing her words. And I'm like, hey, do you want to practice words? She's like, no. This shit's
baby games.
Yeah, it's basically this stuff's so easy. Like I'll just ace it. And so like she's asking me, and I was like, well, what are the words? So, like let me do the spelling test. And thank God I was able to ace them. But
nice.
The thing is, because Jamie reads so much, her vocabulary and her spelling is so good. And I try to extend that to Killy, but she's like, So
it's good that they have different interests. They don't, they're becoming their own people.
So the one that Jamie plays basketball, and so we're trying to find another sport for her, and I wanted to do jiu-jitsu. And so I want to go do it again. Todd White's been hitting me up to go over to his place, and so I was like, Jamie, why don't we do this? Like, I'll go, like, I'm more than happy to go watch you do this. I mean, dude, I grew up in, doing martial arts, and I think this would be so good for you. And I guess one of the girls at school, she's like, she does jujitsu. I'm like, well, she pushed you around. She's like, yeah, she's kind of mean. I'm like, would you be like to get her, throw you in an armbar? Wouldn't you know how to defend yourself?
Wouldn't you like to choke her out?
And then I was like, well, what if you and Killy get a thing and you would have skills on her? And she's like, yeah, that would be way better than volleyball.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do it. Let's get into it.
That's cool. So that's one of the things, I think you and I were talking about how, so Lexi convinced me after we had a podcast with jiu-jitsu guys who are very focused on jiu-jitsu and law enforcement. And so they were kind of shaming me, like, why is this not a priority for you? Like, a lot of fights go to the ground and you don't know what to do. And they're 100% right. Like, I have probably 2 go-to moves that I do all the time for people on the ground. And they've been successful. Well, one of them is a cross face, so you get them on their stomach, and you basically drive your forearm into their cheekbone here,
turn their head,
and then you just kind of lean back, and it's a little bit of a pain compliance thing, and then they usually put their arms out. So it's people who are like turtled up, that kind of thing. And then the other one is just kind of like it depends what we're doing, but it's if you're on the lower end, like a leg lock type thing.
Yeah, you can get like ankle locks and knee locks.
Yeah, you're typically 2 officers and 1 person. But so after that podcast, I was like, they're right. Like, I need to prioritize this among all the other things, like going to the range and, trying to work that into like my training schedule and stuff. So she took me to our department does some jiu-jitsu stuff. And so she took me there and I had my first class and it was good. It's very ritualistic. Like everybody is very warm and welcoming, even if you're brand new, but they were, light years beyond me. And then I just was like, yeah, it was a good experience. I think I'll try to pursue some training with that. And Lexi being the good person that she is, I don't think she believed me, so she bought me a gi and put it on my work desk. And the trainer that I was working with gave me a white belt. And it was like one of those things where symbolically they were like, if you need buy-in, now you have no excuse.
Yeah, language of love.
Now you have the uniform.
I will tell you that had they not done that, there's a high probability I would never, but because they bought into me just symbolically and kind of shamed me into it, like now you have no excuse. You have like everything that you need. And now all you have to do is find the time. So now every week I've been going and doing a one-on-one training with someone. He's actually in town. He just texted me, but he's in town. And it brings me back to, he has we probably have done maybe 10 sessions or something, but one of the last sessions we did, he brought his 8-year-old daughter who does jiu-jitsu and we were practicing together and stuff. And he's like, you're about the same skill level as like my 8-year-old daughter. Yeah. And it's like, I might have size on her, but like she's learning all the same things that I'm learning. And she's got like a brain half the size of mine. And it's just like, it's really great and humbling. And it's just interesting to see someone at that age develop these skills and comfort with their body and comfort, like just in all these aspects. So yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend it. And actually one of the things Lexi does too, is Lexi goes to a separate wrestling class in Tacoma. So aside from just jiu-jitsu, wrestling is another good approach because they still do classes and how to, what the fuck is the term?
Well, it's being comfortable with people like on top of you, like, and I mean, like, and I know it sounds kind of weird, but like, what people really kind of struggle with is like having the pressure, you know, like, somebody on them, like in that position. And I think like,
and knowing you have options. This is not like a fatalistic position at all. You just have to know what to do. And that's the problem is like when I would go to training for the department, if someone mounted me, I was like, all right, I'm ready to take it. Like, just cover my face and take some hits and like try to buck them off and stuff. But now I have other skills.
Well, yeah. I mean, you also know that like if you're on the ground and somebody kind of gets you in full mount, you have to like cover close distance and keep them as close as you can and try to do something. Yeah, because if they create distance, that's when all of a sudden you get fucking dropped with an elbow.
Yeah, that's when you get your face rearranged.
Yeah.
Just hug them and find a good point where you're not using too much strength and see if like, even like my coach now, he's like, all right, I have him in this really tight position. He's like, now access your radio. And so like, how do you maintain, can you access, he's like, all right, does it make you think of your gear configuration differently? And so all of these little
Are you guys wearing
elements,
helmets?
No. Well, for the protest, yes.
For the protest,
yeah. But if you're on regular, so the way it works now is you have to bring that. It's called the UA, which is unusual. I can't remember but it's like unusual event type thing. Unusual activity or something. Yeah. A bag. Why don't they just call it like a riot gear bag?
Just a fucking go bag. Yeah,
keep it in your trunk. It's what we call hats and bats, basically. So, and so you have to have it, but you don't wear it on patrol.
So you wear a helmet, like have a huge dildo. Like
my God.
Like a huge purple
hats
dildo.
And bats.
Wouldn't it be great if they just gave you guys dildos and you're like, okay, you're gonna hit me with a dildo, I'm gonna hit you back with it. There you go.
This is our new training. Oh my God.
You're like, it's called King Dong, and you're getting hit right in the face with it.
At that point, I know we're joking, but at that point, I'd have to be like, all right, this is not the career for me. I'm just not gonna take a dildo to the face. Like, it's outside of my personal life. It's just not happening.
You're like, I worked at CrossFit Balboa.
I worked at CrossFit DuPont.
Yeah, that's probably more of a...
Hi, Eric Peterson.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
I talked to him recently. He FaceTimed me on like last Saturday and we talked. He FaceTimed me, Eric Peterson.
Was he drinking mimosa?
I don't know what he was drinking.
Glitter? Was it glitter?
He had glitter all over his face. And I was like, oh my God, what do you have on your face? And he, of course, in pure Eric...
He's like Botox?
He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, this is just
Funny.
my standard, like, he's like,
the way I look.
he's like, Carrie, what are you talking about? Like, I'm like, okay.
He's
Carrie
like,
Hindelman.
he's like, it's amazing what a little Botox and some glitter does on a Saturday morning with a mimosa.
Man, he looks good. He looks so good.
I'm curious of where he's training.
You know, yeah. You know what's super funny too is like, I always joke about when I used to hang out with him. If we were like getting brunch or something, we'd go back to his place and he'd put on like 84 Olympics gymnastics. He was a gymnast.
I know.
And so he would put that.
He would send me the pictures of him doing full aerials.
Yeah.
And like,
so
He's
when
like 6'4", 240. He's a big dude.
but he can still probably do a back tuck. Anyway, so I'm talking with him and I'm like, so what are you doing? And he just like turns the phone and he's watching like whatever, the 1988 Olympics or something. It's gymnastics on TV. And he's like talking to me about the Russian gymnasts and all this stuff. And he's such a great guy. He enriches my life, you know? Still so much.
Tex, you don't talk to him every Sunday?
No.
He thinks of you fondly though, because we talked about, you know,
he's a great dude.
When we left DuPont and essentially like management was taken out or whatever, and he was assistant coaching and you gave him a card, like a thank you card, like a thank you for your service type thing. And of course, because you write really great cards, he was like, I still have that card, like in like, you know, in my card box, like next to my nightstand or whatever, because he said it was one of the nicest cards I've ever received in my life. He's like, He told me, quote, I will never throw it away.
Wow.
So I don't know. It's going to the grave with him.
Wow.
What language of love would that be?
What is that? Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
I guess maybe that's what I am.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. So there you go. We've covered that.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Is there a language of love that has to do with glitter bombs?
Or
Yeah,
a
but
sense of humor with glitter bombs?
We can't talk about it on air, I'm sure. Yeah, we can't discuss that openly.
So what do you think the future of law enforcement is? I mean,
robots.
Well, I mean, we had the guy on the podcast with the
Rick
drone tasers.
Smith.
Yeah.
Smith.
The End of Killing.
Yeah, you know,
Fascinating.
that killing, you know, having
Is
a
a
traffic
technology issue.
Did that motivate you to
Sorry
read
to
his book?
It did. However, I never did. I mean, it was motivating. I just never reached the point of action.
I will gift you
Really?
the book.
You mean
Thank
a
you.
present
Yes.
I
or
was
gifts?
What I was telling you last night, I don't actually want to read. I just need the text notes. The Chris notes is what I called it. Cliff notes,
like-
Chris notes.
I got it.
Yeah, I just need you. I just need you to tell me. It's like Lexi, she's a big reader too. I'm like, no. I don't want to borrow the book. I don't want to add something to my plate. Like, just fucking tell me what it's about.
I love reading. The problem is finding time. That dude, like it's funny. I'll sit down and I'll start reading, and I'll be like maybe 3 pages in, and then somebody will come over and ask me a question, and then like
Squirrel.
something else, and you're like, and then you come back, you're like, okay, what did I read? And you start going again, and you're like, dude, I get my 1 hour of reading. I got to get through at least 20 pages so I
Good
can
for
read.
you.
You know,
If
X
I start
amount of
reading,
books.
I'm immediately like,
That's because you're a mom.
is it?
Yeah, it's because those things suck the life force out
What
of you.
about all the years before that I was?
Well,
That's because I raged and I was tired.
yeah.
Different type. I was, yeah.
Party glasses. What'd you call those little things?
Oh, lensless frames?
Yeah, like when she popped the lens out, when all of a sudden I see Hinz with just one lens in. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, you know, what was it? The Wallflowers one headlight.
One headlight.
Yeah, we have to post. We have a couple pictures from like way back in the day of like
that you are covered in glitter with
Eric
these.
Peterson glittered on me, and I think I have lensless frames. On.
I have.
He
plenty.
literally threw glitter in my face, like an
You
actual.
know, do you think he has like a glitterologist, like somebody who like plans his glitter bombs?
Glitter guru,
Yeah,
probably.
like he's like, hey, I got to swing by and pick up my glitter bombs. My glitterologist.
It's like
is
an exchange. Like they don't actually touch each other's hand. It's just
no,
like,
he like walks into the glitter store and it's like,
Put the money on.
like it kind of reminds me of like when Pee Wee Herman goes into like the joke store and the guy's like, I have something special for you, Pee Wee, and the guy like comes out with a box. He's like, thanks, Mr. Glitter Man.
Oh, for people who are not from that generation, Pee Wee Herman is a movie from
So when we were kids, there was a movie called Pee Wee's Big Adventure,
Pee Wee's
and in it,
Pee Wee's Playhouse.
yeah, that was the TV show. Remember, all of a sudden, like the secret word would go out, and all of a sudden the couch would be like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I loved it.
And then he came out to be a little bit of a
Pederast.
dude. Yeah.
No, I think he just
A
got.
real Sandy Dusky.
Didn't he get caught in a movie theater
Yeah.
and like rubbing
Yeah.
one out?
It was for adults, not kids. I guess. we
Yeah,
should
he just
clarify.
was. He was a little lonely when
He
they were
was
just.
pervy.
And then what were they doing? They had some sting in there that they were trying to catch dudes in there.
I also don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know how they caught him. And then and then the worst is they like got him like hemmed up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Pee Wee Herman," and they were like, "We got Pee Wee Herman on the line."
They're
and,
like, dunna, dunna, dunna. That one? Like, yeah.
"Oh God, I say we let him go."
Oh, man. That movie, though, was partly creepy.
Dude. We saw that movie in the movie theaters when I was a kid, and I remember we like rode our bikes to the movie and we watched it.
Oh, creepy.
And like the whole time when he like wraps the bike up and like puts the chain on it, we're like, is our fucking bike gonna get stolen?
Yeah.
And like, thank God we went out and our bikes weren't stolen.
Yeah.
But I remember watching it and like thinking it was hilarious. Now I watched it with the kids over quarantine. And they were like, "This is the dumbest shit we've ever seen."
Yeah,
I'm like, "This
I
was
could see-
hilarious when I was your
I
age."
could see that. It's probably just so, like,
They're like, "Why is he talking like that? Why is he wearing makeup? And what's up with that suit?"
they're
And
so
what- yeah.
mature now. Like,
Yeah.
Imagine the shows they've consumed versus what you had the opportunity to do.
yeah, you have them on, like, documentaries now. They're not interested in, like, that lowbrow
No,
nonsense.
they
Slapdick humor.
They're like, let's
Is
watch,
that
I
a
think
language?
it's called slapstick.
Oh,
let's watch My Octopus Teacher.
You realize that's a genre of comedy. There was a whole
yeah,
thing.
that's a language.
Slapstick.
No, I actually took a
Physical
class in
comedy.
college called Rhetoric of Slapstick Comedy, and we watched all the original slapstick comedies.
Is that like Three Stooges?
No, it started with like Some Like 'Em Hot was in there, and like a bunch of those movies like Marilyn Monroe, which were kind of funny movies. But there was a whole genre of slapstick
I was
comedies.
gonna burn myself. I played college lacrosse. Slapdick humor. Ball tapping's my game.
Yeah, you really
Oh,
were
I
fighting for that one.
Why
I
did
know.
guys do that?
Ball tap.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But they're always like they can't function for a good 5 minutes after that.
Well, it just depends on how good they get
If
it.
you got hit,
Yeah, there's a lot of thigh shots in
Can't
there.
hurt that bad. Come on, you guys.
we're
Taser.
quiet on this
Taser.
side of the table.
Taser.
Yeah.
Taser. Just matter to use Luke Summers humor.
Oh my god. My nickname.
We watched that video last night. That was
the taser
traumatizing.
What, have you getting tased?
PTSD. Yeah. Yeah.
It sure. I'll take that. I'll take 10 tases over another wax.
Oh really?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's go.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Wade's
And then
Army.
the worst is Tex takes it, right, goes down, and then of course Luke has to jump in there to one up him.
So
And then the dude misses and doesn't get
Yeah.
it in. Like it goes into his belt, and Luke's like, I don't know what happened. It felt fine. I don't know why.
Yeah, he did not have
It's not
NMI,
his
which
fault.
is like the neuromuscular
No,
lockup.
like it hit his fucking belt,
You
his
have to
leather
have-
belt.
You
Like
have
there
to
was
have 2 points of
yeah.
contact.
Yeah, there has to be a positive and a negative.
And he looked like such a badass, but I guarantee you it was not the
No.
same experience. So
I'm like, just the guy gets it right. It was Tyson gets it right in Texas back. And I want
Yeah.
to say he got it
butt
in
cheek.
your
That's
butt
'cause you're-
cheek. And, yeah.
your posterior chain, to be fair, is much
I got a
stronger
lot.
and bigger than
Well,
Luke Summers.
it's-
I got a bigger
well-
target.
Well, he's like a CrossFit girl. All quads and all butt, no hamstrings.
Who, Luke?
Pro.
No, Mr. CrossFit girl butt over here.
Not quads.
Don't.
You're a butt hammy guy, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very.
He's got no hamstrings.
He
I've
doesn't?
never
Dude,
seen a separation.
how
I
do
of
will
you
those
have-
get up on this. This is why we got
I
the
will
YouTube.
take my pants off, so help me God.
Well, you can't see it through all the hair.
How can you have a butt and no hamstrings? How can you isolate?
That was true within all the CrossFit girls that we've run into.
I don't believe that. They only had they faked it. They would stick their butt out. Yeah, he's got a hamstring.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
do.
really seeing. Oh God. Well, you're.
Flex. Flex.
I see no hamstring. Oh,
There it is.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a baby hamster. There's no separation in those suckers.
All right. That's your honey baked right there. Good for you.
Tune into YouTube for that one, listeners.
That's a weird one. Yeah, Tex just stood up on the table and.
It wouldn't be the first time on Power Athlete Radio.
Promo image. Texas hamstring.
Coach Mike,
Me like this.
Mike
Ugh.
Martino put us through a foot assessment on.
Oh,
That was a good one. That's on the YouTube as well.
I need to do
On
more
the
of
YouTube.
that. I need to do some foot stuff, active foot stuff. Take the shoes and whatnot off.
What kind of boots do you wear?
I wear, so they have an Under Armour brand that's more of like a super light. The only problem is typically Under Armour, they use like kind of a sneaker but high boot design, so all of the material is permeable. So if someone vomits on you or you're in like a puddle or something, it's water resistant but not waterproof, like regular leather boots.
You got to like spray those suckers with like Scotch Brite or something.
I mean, if
or
you
just
go,
throw them away.
If you go to like a DOA where somebody has just been like everything's kind of sloughing out and stuff, those are not boots that you want to wear again, because it's like it's permeable, you know. So anyway, I will most likely make a transition out of those boots. They're just super light. Like if you get the leather ones, you're like, oh my god, these are
until
just
they
old
break
school Bates or whatever, like,
or like even like Danners or some of those
yeah.
especially in the Pacific Northwest. There's some cool boot like Danners, white boots.
Oh, I've never
is like they're super high end, but I just remember there's all these like custom boot makers that make these like super high end. And the only way I know this is Jade Marsh, you know, Jade who worked with Starling Gear. Jade was like kind of a boot connoisseur, and like I was like, man, those boots are cool. Where'd you get those things? He's like, oh, they're, you know, custom Knicks boots or you know, something. And so I looked them up online. I'm like, wow, $600 for a set of work boots
for the real deal, like legit leather hard, and it takes, you know, a year to break them in. You're like, all right, in 2 years these are gonna feel great.
You're like sitting in the bathtub drinking martinis, hoping these things fucking break in.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean that boot thing has changed. They just don't have the lifespan. So you can get super light, comfortable ones, but you're gonna wear them for a year and that's it. And most people. I like that because they're comfortable. I mean, if you spend a lot of time on your feet, so, and then, you know, I don't have to change them for a bicycle or anything like that. They're pretty pliable, so you can hop on a bike and that kind of thing. So,
does that happen to you? Like, just jump on your bike in the middle of
just
patrol?
commandeer people's bikes during foot pursuit, like, boom.
No. You're like, I'm the police. Get off your bike.
Yeah, no. The coolest thing though is we had an officer commandeer a jet ski to save somebody who was drowning, and he got like a commendation for that. However,
was it like a little jet ski on his uniform?
that would be funny. I don't know what he got, but he got some sort of a award. But you know,
2 thumbs up.
If he had been commandeering a jet ski to take someone into custody, it would probably be frowned upon. You know what I mean? It's like 2 different, you know, life saving versus enforcing the law. So
who's rolling a jet ski in Seattle?
There was just some jet ski down on like the Sound or something. I can't remember exactly where it was.
The water is cold as shit.
Yeah.
He jumped on that thing, and I mean, good thing he had jet ski skills.
Yeah. People are resilient though. Yeah. I mean, Lexi rescued someone from the water, and I think her couple of her mags and even she was wearing a metal badge at the time. We have the patches, but even that fell into the water, and the harbor patrol went back and retrieved her mags and the badge, and the badge was all rusted and stuff. So she got to keep it and get like a new one. So that's kind of cool. Like she was reaching in to get like somebody who was trying to come up. And anyway, so it's kind of a cool thing, but yeah, like, harbor patrol's good for something. They should have been doing the rescue, but
it's all right.
Yeah.
It's semantics.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Anyway, that's all the good stories I have.
Have you ever saved anyone's life?
Probably not. No.
Well, no, not that you know of.
I mean,
not the 1-to-1. Maybe some impact.
I've never. Well, I mean, I've applied like a lot of tourniquets and things like. Well, a lot. I say maybe like 4 or 5 in my career applied tourniquets.
That's more than us.
But I don't know if those injuries necessarily like they would have caused them to bleed out. It's just for me, if you're shot in a place that I can use a tourniquet. I'm going to. Like if you're shot in the leg or near the hip or something like that, then absolutely I'm going to. And so I've done a lot of tourniquets. I just don't know. I mean, I've also applied tourniquets to people who've died, you know, and so, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if I've saved. I don't think so.
Do you think, like maybe, and I've always felt that like the reason that maybe some of these situations happen is that cops maybe aren't trained enough to like realize escalation of force as quickly as they need to, and they don't have the skills. So I think for a lot of this stuff, like, if you're fairly decent with your hands and like maybe a jiu-jitsu practitioner or understand leverage or whatnot, all of a sudden you're in a situation where like, like let's say that kid who goes to get back in the car and she, thinks she has a taser and, hits him with, obviously a gun in terms of a contact. It was like she was trying to like
drive stun.
Yeah, drive stun him and pulled the gun and did a contact shot. I mean, if she was probably a little bit more trained and understand how to subdue somebody as he goes back to get into the car, all of a sudden she like, keeps the door open and all of a sudden gets him into some form of, situation, some altercation, some hold or something that allows other officers.
Hands-on. And and it's the tricky thing is because you weren't there, you can't put yourself in that position, but you can. I think there is value to, I don't want to say Monday morning quarterback, but you can always learn from other people's experience. And so, we debrief a lot of stuff like that. I'm talking about like Lexi and I, because we constantly want to be thinking about what we would do in that situation. And one of the, we debated, because one of the tactics we learn is to push someone into that corner where the door's open, push them and face them in that direction, and
then use the door to leverage them.
Yeah. And she said that there is an opportunity for them to shut the door, and she would have pulled him away from the car because she's picking up on body language that says he's trying to drive the car away, that kind of thing. And so we talked about it. And so, there's no one way, but I think the best thing to do is, if there is not a weapon being introduced or you're not being overwhelmed by someone, always stay hands-on, wrap them up. You don't even have to use strikes or anything. You can just wrap the person up and control their movements like that. So again, I don't want to put myself in someone else's shoes in that scenario. Maybe she saw something that we didn't, or that, she felt she was, that when she had been trained, a taser was a very appropriate use, in which it may very well have been. But for us, we try to stay hands-on for as long as possible. It's just, well,
the other one too is, you're not allowed to carry your taser on the same side as your gun.
Yeah.
So like most times when you see police officers, like if they're right-handed and the gun's on their right side, the taser is usually on the left side.
And even for me,
or even on a drop.
Yeah. Even for me, I change. Not only the opposite side, but I changed the level. It's a drop holster, so there's no question I'm doing a completely different movement pattern to retrieve it. Some people also put it like facing the other way, so you have to. The whole idea with a taser too is that you have time, distance to make that decision. And so if you put it in the opposite direction, even if you have to kind of finagle it into the right position, it's a clear distinction that it's a completely different tool.
Were there tasers, contact tasers, but they also shoot
barbs.
So
that every taser is, you can use a drive stun.
Or you can use the barbs.
Contact, or you use the barbs for distance.
Yeah, but if you're in a situation, I could see the guy was trying to get back in the car, so it wasn't like the distance was there to be able to.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to do that. Yeah. That's why you want to close that gap, close the distance. But they probably could have just done that by wrapping him up.
But
buying some time.
Wasn't there also and I hate Monday morning quarterbacking this stuff, but
that's what we're doing.
But think about too. The other one is on the stop. I've had numerous times where the officer asks, "Can you turn off the car, please? Can I see the keys on the dash?" And that's something I always do. I always turn the car off and put the keys on the dash.
Well,
roll the windows down.
That sounds like that's a very California thing too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's not something we typically do unless I run a plate and I know that the driver. I know that the registered owner, because you could have a different driver than the registered owner. But if I run the plate and then I run whoever's attributed as a registered owner, they have a warrant, then that might be a situation where I know I'm going to make an arrest, right? If they match the description, I can kind of see, then I'm already going to put myself, get the keys out of the way, whatever. And they might say, "Am I being detained?" And I might say, like, "Am I being detained?" And you're like, "Yeah, you absolutely are."
Well, I always figured just turning the car off, here are the keys, turning the car off. That to me is just a good move. I'm always amazed when people leave the car running, and I'm like, man, I always turn the car off. Roll the windows down, when the cop comes up, he sees it, who's in the car. Don't make any sudden movements.
You can absolutely just ask someone to do that, and it's a great feeler outer for what the person.
Hey, can you just turn the car off for me?
Yeah. Hey, do you mind turning the car off? It's a little hard for me to hear you right now.
Yeah.
And that's it. Even if you just want to turn it off, if you tell them to put the keys away, that now you're kind of mapping out the tone of the conversation. But yeah, it's a great way to just kind of, hey, I can't hear you over the engine, or can you turn your radio down? Okay, now can you turn your car off? Because now I can hear you a little bit better. And I've got a camera, so I want to make sure we can get this on video or whatever.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden now he goes back and gets in the car. He's going to have to not only search for the keys, put them in the ignition, turn, which is going to give you a good opportunity for a lot of different things.
Yeah, it buys you a little time. And those little questions, they're not you're not legally obligated to turn your vehicle off, during a traditional traffic stop or anything. But it's a great feeler for just what's our interaction going to be like, if a person refuses to turn on their radio or something, and you're just like, all right, now I know where kind of this person's mindset is in terms of our interaction there. We're not starting from a mutual respect type thing. And so, yeah, it's like any other human interaction.
Man, last time I got pulled over was for not having any front license plate.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that bracket fell off like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And a cop pulled me over, and it was funny because he was driving the other way, made a U-turn, and then pulled me over. And when I asked him why he pulled me, and I first question I asked, like, hey, how can I help, officer? You know why I pulled you over? And I'm like, no, I wasn't speeding, which is usually I am speeding. And he's like, you have no front license plate. And I was like, oh, okay. So, like at that point, it's a fix-it ticket.
Yeah.
And the guy proceeds, do you have a gun in the car? Yeah. Well, here's my, concealed carry permit. And we go through this whole thing. And like, it was
he asked you?
Well, in Texas, when you handle your license,
I always just tell someone if I have been pulled over, and I just say, "Hey, just so you know, I have a firearm. It's located here, and I have a whatever sworn."
Yeah, I've been pulled over a couple times in the Austin area and been asked that twice, and just
oh, that's fine. Yeah, I mean,
so
it's probably more commonplace here.
So that I just assume everybody in Texas has a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the questions, and ended up writing me a fix-it ticket, which I thought was like, wow, you must be really bored today.
Maybe so. Well, yeah.
Just an easy win.
Yeah, and it's just they got to do their job. That's part of enforcing. It's part of enforcing laws. I mean, it's also there may be receiving pressure not to do other types of proactive policing, and so traffic is it's like the final frontier of proactive policing, where you're like, okay, I can still stop people for traffic violations or moving violations.
Yeah, but I mean, it feels like these traffic stops for kind of traffic violations is usually what leads to the, which is what happened with this kid. I mean, obviously the Chauvin deal with George Floyd was a little different. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
They called him on, passing, counterfeit 20s.
Like a pretense type stop. But if there's a valid violation, you can stop them and investigate further for other crimes. And that's just, that's as the law reads. So that's what I mean. It is one of the last forms of like proactive policing. It's just, if you're driving around a car that has expired tabs, 2 years old expired, you're going to get stopped in Seattle. Like, you're going to get stopped. And if you have drugs in your cup holder, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get taken out of the car, And so yeah, it's not the worst.
What happens when we get into happened in Oregon where they legalized everything?
It's very similar. I mean, they've legalized a lot of things in Seattle, but they've, what I would say, decriminalized a lot of other so they make the quantity of things like methamphetamine. They make the kind of what they would call the filing standard. So in order for the courts to file it, the city to file, they make the standard so high that you have to it's basically only a dealer would have that amount. So to be like a methamphetamine user, you're never going to have a certain amount, 0.5 grams or something is an outrageous amount of user meth. I mean, if you're a meth head, you've already gone through that. What I mean? Yeah. And so it's impossible to file on the user now. So I would say it's not that it's legal. It's just, it doesn't meet the filing standards and gets thrown out. It's just decriminalized is how I would phrase it. So it's just it has to meet a certain bar because there's high demands on our court system, and they're struggling with everything else with staffing and trying to get lots of cases through. And it's just interesting that is how our judicial system operates. It's like, look, we got a lot on our plate, so we're going to take meth and we're going to make the bar a little higher so that we're not processing as many people and whatever.
So on the street, if you stop some guy and like you said, a traffic stop, and you go in, he's got meth in his center console, is it something where you guys are like pulling the baggie out and going and weighing it and being like, oh, I guess, this is personal consumption. Good day, sir.
Well, if it's not on his person and it's in the vehicle, as soon as we see it, the vehicle is going to be towed to a processing center, and because it's inside the vehicle, you'll most likely have pictures taken of it. And you'll have to get like a little warrant to go into the car to get it out. If it's on his person and he's under arrest and you're doing a search, which is more often the case, they have it on their person or in their sock or maybe in their hat or something, then you go through it, you take it back to the precinct, you weigh it, you do a test on it to ensure that it's methamphetamine, not some other substance.
Well, you have to do a couple of rails yourself.
Absolutely not.
A couple bumps.
Yeah, what's
You're like,
what's it smell like?
Yeah, like how many of these bumps do we have to do to know that this is real meth?
I don't even think meth has a smell. Heroin has a very distinct smell, and it smells like vinegar essentially. But yeah, so that you can really tell. But yeah, so you weigh it, you go through that whole process, and you put it in for evidence. And you know, now with body cams, it's really great because you can just film the whole thing, and you know that goes into.
You're like, are you getting this?
Yeah.
Are you getting this?
So yeah, that's kind of just the process. And you know, a lot of times, even if it's a small amount, you still, because it's still a crime to be in possession, you know, usually, especially if you're arresting the person for another crime as well, it just helps. It helps kind of show like, you know, the criminal intention of the person. Like if they've assaulted someone and they're under arrest for an assault, and then you find meth on them, you're like, okay, well they're, you know, now we can add that charge as part of the greater crime, which was the assault. If it was just the meth in and of itself, it would most likely get kicked out. So, so it just kind of it contributes to the case. So, anyway, I can hear Josie screaming over there. So we should probably. I should probably. You guys can.
No, I'll probably wrap it up.
Yeah, sorry that we talked so much about.
No,
but it's an interesting.
But believe me, I find law enforcement so interesting, especially you know, in today's environment with you know, not only lockdowns, and I think. I said this during the lockdowns, which I think is coming to fruition, which I was totally afraid of, which was when the lockdowns happened and, you know, our elected officials were using law enforcement as their agents to go, you know, enforce something that like you legally can't do. In this country, we're, you know, guaranteed the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we were putting a lockdown in place that was one that was forcing people into this essential, non-essential business, forcing people to stay in your homes. And I could no longer, you know, basically denying me what it is to be an American, which is the, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You're denying me these things. And they're using the agents of the government, which is a shitty position because law enforcement, you know, that's the arm they were using to like send people out and enforce this shit. Yeah. And,
luckily, I have to say, I've never heard of anyone being locked up for COVID stuff. I've heard of the businesses and issues like that. But
there were businesses, but I like there was a scene where, and I think, I don't know if it was in Minnesota where it was, but a lady was outside playing with her kids, and the law enforcement came over and, you know, basically told her she had to go back inside, and they were out there, you know, trying to enforce these draconian laws. And what I said way back when was, if this happens, you're going to have now like a breaking of this social contract where now you're, you know, being agents of oppression in such a way that's denying me my life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when this all of a sudden goes away, all of a sudden there's going to be a greater distrust of law enforcement. And, you know, I've always said, like, this is what's happening, is the reason law enforcement works is because of the social contract. Like, I'm giving you the right to go through this process that I've agreed to basically govern and to implement laws and to invest and do this, and this is your position.
I'm giving you the ability to temporarily take away my rights to investigate a crime, that kind of thing.
And what happens when people are like, I no longer grant you this authority.
Right.
And now this just looks like somebody coming at me in a uniform with a gun who's, you know, basically trying to take away my life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Well, luckily they had some police chiefs, particularly one in California, who spoke out very openly about, you know, I think the governor wanted the police in California to really start to crack down on that. And there was a chief that was very outspoken against it.
Yeah, the guy in San Diego.
Yeah, set the tone pretty well. Hats off to him.
Well, it's just, you know, the problem is God, what's the name of the governor in California? Gavin Newsom. Yeah, I mean, so you have Newsom sitting up in his ivory tower, you know, with his,
indoor dining.
Well, with his, I guess it's the aunt of his wife, who's Nancy Pelosi. You know, that's kind of that power structure, and who's sitting up there and just making these. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah. There's a whole weird one where, you know, he also declared his winery as essential. Like, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff. So he's Plump Jack, Plump Jack Winery.
Mama's had a lot of wine during COVID, so it's been essential.
But this is a situation where they put this in place, and then they look and they go, law enforcement, it's your job to enforce this. And so people are like, wait a minute, like
Yeah, we're not bullies. We're not bouncers at a club.
Well,
There's a
but
total
that's,
difference.
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
that's not the function of law enforcement.
Yeah.
So what I always worried about is that social contract exists, that like, hey, when you get behind me and you throw those lights on, I've agreed that, you know, now I'm being detained. Time to pull over. What happens if I'm like, I don't know, it's just some idiot with lights following me? You know, shit. Now all of a sudden, like he's going to be violent with me. I'm going to be violent with him because no longer do I recognize this social contract.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's just it, is the contract is up for review right now. And that's what people they're like, no, we're not. That's the scary thing is the police are like, no, that contract's still good. And everyone else is like, no, it's not. And so we got to find out how we can negotiate back to a point where you're right. People will sacrifice their civil liberties temporarily for us to keep them safe and prevent criminal activity, to hold people accountable for their actions. And so we got to get back to a point where that contract is honored by both ends of the spectrum.
Well, I mean, look, this kid obviously trying to get back in the car, and like I was listening to his mom being like, he's scared of the police. And it's like, okay, so he's now looking at it like, hey, to save my life, I have to get back in this car. And, you know, even though I've broken these laws, whatever, and now all of a sudden I'm no longer, you know, I'm fighting off to be a detained, and then he ends up dying. Like,
it might very well, that very well may be the case. He's scared to lose his life, so he tries to get back in the car
and then loses his life.
Yeah, and that is just the sad reality is that there is a perception right now where they, you know, unfortunately, that people feel like that is going to be their demise with every interaction with police, and that is just not the case.
No, it's not. But that's what's being perpetuated by the media. I don't know if you just saw, there was a whole like the news I was reading today was, I don't know if you saw the Project Veritas deal, where this guy basically set up a bunch of like Tinder dates with the guy who's the head of CNN, like their programming. And the guy was bragging about like, yeah, you know, our biggest mission was to get rid of Trump. So we were running stories that had no basis for everything.
Oh my God.
And like, you know, basically like, hey, this is what we were going to do. This is what our agenda was. And like this dude's like, I watched this guy just being like, yeah, we didn't want Trump. So we ran stories that were talking about him being mentally this and this. And then we ran these stories completely
is anyone
fabricated.
Surprised?
No, but it's, and then the interesting thing is like, as people are hearing it, everybody's like, oh yeah, no, we already knew this. And then the other people were like, well, yeah, we thought he was an asshole anyway, so we were totally okay with it.
You're the media. My God, take some ownership and responsibility.
Well, they are. What they're doing is that we're little children, so that we have to be governed in such a way. But the problem is that the narrative, and they even talked about the whole deal you've seen with like Asian American violence happening. It's being perpetuated by, you know, black people towards them, and they're like, we won't run a single story about it. And so I'm watching this like 5 different like dates that this guy's on, just completely like brain dumping all this information.
Love it.
He's volunteering this information
on Tinder dates,
and then
on a Tinder date.
That date is
recording it
Inside
for
info.
something called Project Veritas, where they go out and they basically, and then the guy put it out, and then of course Twitter banned him.
Makes me think about some of my Tinder dates and things that I've
but it's amazing, like the brashness that, like, you know, here's somebody basically opening, you know, agreeing that a major network is running false stories to manipulate the perception of the American
reservation
people. And
whatsoever,
and totally brass and bold and bragging about it to try to get laid.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, shit.
Did it work?
Yeah, exactly.
And them running stories about like the police and this and like how they're doing it. You got Don Lemon up there who is
good. I'm glad this was a story. Good on the date for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, and Chris Como and Don Lemon, like, I think are by far to be blamed for most of this stuff by perpetuating it. And it's an awful thing, because the problem is that their agenda, which is trickling down in terms of like law enforcement, it's like, hey, we're just trying to do our jobs, and now all of a sudden people think we're like, you know, jackboot thugs that are showing up the night to steal people in black bags. This is not what I signed
up for. Yeah. Serve and protect. That's what we signed up for. Anyway,
Well, thanks for coming on and discussing this stuff.
And I really appreciate you guys giving me the platform, because we don't have a lot of platforms, even, you know, to talk about like what we do and what we're, you know.
I've always felt law enforcement is by far one of the most difficult jobs, and you know, the reason that, like, you know, when so many cops that you run into that get kind of so jaded and just so salty in terms of dealing with this stuff. it's because the interactions every day. It's like we had who was the podcast we did with the gal from who was the fireman who was talking about
Annette Zapp.
Annette
what was like the mental health, and she's like,
Fire
after
rescue.
you go on like 7 calls where you've seen children dead, all of a sudden what they do is they come home and they start drinking, and now all of a sudden alcoholism, suicide, like all this stuff, like you can only see so much ugliness, where all of a sudden you start like that just seeps in on you.
And I'm on a break from the street right now, but for anybody who's watching, if you have an interaction with a police officer, you see one hanging out or whatever, thank them or tell them you don't hate them, or, you don't have to buy them a coffee. I know that's kind of antiquated, but you got
to buy them a donut.
Maybe just say hello, or, hey, I appreciate you being here or something, because it's just not, at least where we live, it's not commonplace, and it's the job is difficult right now. So I have a lot of respect for people that are still doing it and on the street. So
I remember DJ and I were working on a truck, and I jumped in it, and DJ was with me, and we drove down to put diesel in it, and we basically ran out of diesel, like pulling in, and it was right over here on like B Cave and 71. And so we're stopped, and I got DJ out, and I'm like basically trying to push the truck. And this like cop comes in, lights us up. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like,
pushing a truck.
Pushing a truck.
What does it look like?
Right. And the guy like, looks at me, and I was like, "I could use some help."
Yeah.
And the guy like kept his lights on, and he got out, and he actually helped me push the truck. And he's like, "What, like assholes?" I'm like, "We just ran out of gas, dude. Like this is, look, just help a neighbor push a truck."
Yeah. I mean, anyway, it's not an easy job, but again, thanks for letting me chat, and it's always good to catch up with you guys. I know a lot's changed over the years, and we've all evolved and stuff, but can you hear that? My God, Nate's out there probably just doing Turkish get-ups with Josie.
Yeah, he'll have to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like just like when they when you have the baby and they hand it to you, and you're like, I don't need a license, or
I know.
you're not going to check me out. I'm not qualified for
That
this
was
thing.
me. Tom was like, "No, we got this," and I was like, "Do we?"
We?
Yeah.
We goose.
You mean me? He's like, hold on, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, I got to pee.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Power Athlete Radio. Callie Hinzman, thank you so much for coming on and regaling us with stories and reminding us that the voice has a face.
Yeah, voice has a face. Yeah, a lot of people probably don't even know who I am, but yep, I'm the voice.
You got to go way back to episode.
Way back, old school.
Was that your Zach Evans? Old school.
Old school. Yeah. All right.
Zach Evanesh, when he hears that, just goes fucking head pops up. He usually texts me. Well, old school.
You know he's watching this one.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm going back. I'm a loaded freight train and I'm right on track.